Yeah, yeah. I mean, because I'd imagine, like, again, like we started off saying, like most guys would add an inch to their dick if they just could, right? Naturally, if this could
Yeah.
happen. And but like a lot, it's so tied to self-esteem. But you're saying also increasing your self-esteem, of course, enhances your sexual performance, and they go
Yeah,
together.
I think a lot of it more than anything else is just learning to, just that self mastery, getting, developing that self mastery. Sometimes that comes from attaining goals. Sometimes it comes from learning discipline. The structure of a routine. A lot of these guys, they may not have experienced that kind of structure before. And it's something you have to impose upon yourself, which for a lot of guys is difficult. I mean, I'm a coach, and I certainly do my best to help my clients, but they have to do the work, you know. And if they're not doing the work, uh, they're not going to make the games. They're not going to get anything out of it. So, yeah, just learning that discipline, and then learning the benefits that comes uh, from discipline. It's a teaching tool. So I like to see it as a feedback loop. You constantly testing yourself, learning, refining, and transcending limitations.
Hmm. What kinds of things have you seen change in your clients? Has there been any like common things, or anything that surprised you
Oh,
through these programs?
yeah, I tell you, the best is just mindsets. Seeing men grow as people, uh, and you'll talk to a guy who may have been very sexually, just very awkward, and then a couple of years later, it's like they're completely different men. But they're not out, betting women every night. They've learned to appreciate them, or men, whatever their preference. But they see sex in a different way. They don't see it as a tool. They don't see it as something to gratify their ego. They see it for what it is. And it takes a high level of confidence, and it takes courage to be able to allow yourself to be emotionally vulnerable enough to make love, so to speak. And there's a huge difference. And a lot of my clients would tell me, and you've probably experienced it yourself, I'm sure. There's very big difference when you are able to engage with someone sexually and let those emotional barriers down. Sex takes on a very, very different feel. That you can't duplicate that with someone with whom you're reserved. If you have those guards up, you're going to have a problem obtaining full intimacy with them. So
Mm.
being able to have that courage and that confidence in yourself enough to let that guard down. And honestly, that's going to allow you to have the best sex you'll ever have.
Mm. Totally. Yeah. I'm wondering if you've noticed anything about, I mean, masculinity is such a broad term. It means different things to different people, but have you noticed anything? I mean, because obviously people associate the penis with masculinity.
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed any connections there as people do these exercises over time? How they see themselves
Uh,
as men, or masculine traits, however you put them.
I think so. I think you know, there's a lot. I know some people would define masculinity as in different terms. Obviously having a penis is a masculine trait, but it's one in which you have to have a certain level of emotional strength to function. I mean, granted, I know that there's workarounds nowadays like Viagra and tools like that, but if you are not functioning at a certain emotional level, your penis isn't going to work.
Mm.
And that's the definition in the sense of potency. It's not
Mm.
just necessarily a physical thing. I mean, there are a lot of, as a matter of fact, the most common causes of erectile dysfunction is often stress related or anxiety related. So I mean, if you have an issue in that area, obviously you're not going to be happy with your condition. Most men, granted, you want to do your best to not dwell on it, but it is something that if it happens to you, it's not a pleasant experience, and it does take a lot of courage to confront that and to say, I want to do something about it. And a lot of guys don't. You'd be surprised how a lot of men, they have their negative experiences, and granted they'll channel their energies elsewhere, but they don't want to experience that shame. So they either stop having sexual contact, or they have very limited or strange forms of sexual contact, and they essentially shut down that part of their lives because they're just afraid to allow themselves to become that vulnerable again. So I mean, it really takes a certain level of strength in order to transcend those issues. And I think the most courageous guys are the ones who come with those issues, and they say, I want to do something about it, and I'm not happy feeling this way. I want to change myself on a fundamental level. And really, it's that persistence. I think that's one of the things that defines masculinity too, is just that persistence, even in the face of danger or fear or whatnot. I mean, you say, yes, I feel afraid, but I must do this. I have to do it. And
Hmm.
that helps you develop character. And I think that's probably the best takeaway that you can get from this kind of training if you're in that position, and you're just being able to see, uh, you know, see emails, or communicate with guys who have gone from, a point of despair to a point to where they've, happier than they've ever been. And not because they're, living some kind of a fantasy life, but because they are happy with themselves. They become unencumbered. That they achieve that level of peace. They're not looking for the high. They're not looking for those highs. Because the highs are often followed by lows. They found that peace within themselves because they've learned to conquer those aspects of themselves that have previously held them back.
Hmm. Awesome. Well, this has been super interesting. I love your perspective on it. It's been more than just the exercises, which I appreciate. For guys who want to learn more, go deeper with this, how can they find out about your work or work with you?
Sure. Well, I have a coaching website at maleenhancementcoach.com. I'm also frequently on pegym.com. That one is a free male enhancement forum. A lot of activity there. So guys who are interested in that, I really recommend that they check those sites out.
Awesome. We'll have links to those right under this video. Thanks again, Al. This was great. I hope we speak again soon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.